यस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेद विभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। Verse number 13, 1-3. लय विनाशने उभयरोधने लयगतं पुनर्भवति नो मृतम् प्राणबन्धनात् लीनमानसम् एकचिन्तनात् नाशमेत्यदः नष्टमानसोत्कृष्टयोगिनः कृत्यमस्ति किं स्वस्थितिं यतः दृश्यवारितं चित्तमात्मनः चित्वदर्शनं तत्वदर्शनं मानसं तु किं मार्गणे कृते नैव मानसं मार्ग आर्जवात् वृत्तयस्त्वहं वृत्तिमाश्रिताः विद्यहं वृत्तयो मनो विद्यहं मनः वृत्तयो मनो विद्यहं मनः। नको join that. Last time we saw about how the ahankara is born. Ahankara is born out of ignorance. Generally, the question is asked, if Atma is free, muktaha, how come do I feel the bondage? The very answer lies in the question. You start with if and say, if Atma is free, then how do I feel bondage? That means you are not free. You take yourself to be bound. Second question, generally people ask, if Atma is one in all, so if one becomes free, all will become free. Moksha for one should lead to moksha for all. That's what thinking is. Please understand how the ahankara is born. It is, we'll see in the next couple of verses, it's a hodgepodge. It is born out of ignorance. When I say if, that means I don't know myself. Our good old example, rope is mistaken to be snake because of ignorance about the rope. One. Now, where does the ignorance is? What is the adhara, the substratum of ignorance of rope? You cannot say rope ignorance lies in the rope. Much less you can say it lies in the snake. Ignorance is in rope awareness. About the awareness of this object, there is ignorance. I am aware of something. If there was no awareness, the fellow would have taken the The rope would have walked away even if it was a snake. And the fact that the mistake is there in the rope awareness, there is ignorance. Not exactly in a rope awareness. Rope awareness is there with the person who sees the rope. This awareness, that there is something is self-evident. That becomes not self-evident, it is evident to this person. And in that knowledge or that awareness that there is something, there is ignorance. So the rope is born, the snake is born. Similarly, ignorance is in the self-awareness. That is there because of buddhi. That is why each one has to work for one's own moksha. Because your awareness and this ego is because I am being self-evident, self-revealing fact. So I know I am and I exist. And I said, Samanya Gnanam is there. Like you see, there is something. Samanya Gnanam is there, there is something is. Then it is mistaken to be snake. Aham asmi, I am aware that I am. And that self is mistaken to be non-self. And that's aware because of ignorance. Now, this ahankara, that is called ahankara. Ahankara is just a thought. It is not solid entity. It's a thought. It's in fact a notion born out of ignorance. And that ahankara, or your right word would be superimposition, adhyastaha. Like the rope, the snake is superimposed on the rope. So also the ahankara is superimposed on the awareness. And awareness being nitya, this fellow is nitya. Not only it is nitya, it keeps on gathering new identities. It keeps on gathering new, sort of putting on new roles. Though he doesn't know I am this or that. And that is the one who continues. Basically a karta bhokta. Then you can look at ahankara from the standpoint of view of panchakosha. You can look at it from three sharira or karma phala model karta bhokta. It goes on. This karta also is variety of shades of kartrutvam. Ahankara has accumulated, and that fellow keeps on doing with the eye sense and gathering new karmas, karma phalas, and therefore getting new birth. This is how the samsara goes on. Just as you can say, please understand, I would like to repeat this. There is a general awareness of the thing is. Okay? But then samanya gnanam is, there is something is. But vishesha gnanam, what exactly it is there, that is not known. There is ignorance in it. And that is why it is taken to be other than what it is. Similarly, there is a self-awareness. I am. In that self-awareness, this I am, exactly like when the fellow says, this is rope, and the other one says, this is snake. This is common to both. Both of them know that object is. There is awareness about the object. But then somehow in that awareness about that object, there is ignorance. Therefore, the fellow says, this is snake. So also, Then when ahankara is aham asmi, fellow says I am jivaha, or a wise person says I am Satchidananda Atma, or I am Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma, in that I am awareness is there. And in that self-awareness, there is ignorance. So you can say as though, what you can say, like a rope is covered by ignorance. It's a figurative use. The self is covered by ignorance. You cannot cover it. Self being limitless cannot be covered. But figuratively you can say, and that is called Anandamaya Kosha or Sushupti Avastha, etc. that we have seen in Tattva Bodha. The self is covered by ignorance and the ahankara is born. As I said, it is just a concept, just a thought. There is no real vastu. Like even to say this is snake is a concept. There is no real vastu called sarpaha. It is only in mind, in the onlooker's mind, on ignorant mind. Similarly, that ignorant buddhi has this aham jivaha. That is just a notion, just a thought. And therefore he says, this ahankara is there permanently because of superimposed, and that aham is destroyed. How? Last time I gave an example of Ramayana. Now look at the next verse. It talks about how to destroy the ahankara. See that. Ahamayam kuto bhavati chinvata aipatatyaham nija vicharanam. Please repeat, all of you chant together with me. We'll chant it twice. Ahamayam kuto bhavati chinvata aipatatyaham nija vicharanam. Ahamayam kuto bhavati chinvata aipatatyaham nija vicharanam. Aham ayam. Ayam aham. This I. This I means this ahankara. Utaha bhavati. Where from it is born. What is its real nature? Iti chinvataha. When you inquire into where from this ahankara arises, where from it comes to an existence, what is its real existence? What is its real swarupa? Ai, O seeker, out of love. Ai, O seeker, aham patati. This ahankara falls. Falls means is as though drops off. Aham patati. Aham drops off. And that is called nija vicharanam. That is called self-inquiry. Okay? So he says, O seeker, for you, or for that matter to any seeker, when one inquires thus, where from I is, what is my real nature, where do I come from, where do I exist, etc., they all mean the same, that when you inquire thus, O seeker, aham pati, I notion drops off. This is called self-inquiry. Okay? This is called nija vicharanam. And then, like even when the snake drops off, when you question the snake with the torchlight, you see a snake there, and you use the torch and look at it, the snake falls off. Snake, you can say, disappears. You can say in a thin air. The snake, it disappears. Where did it go? Where it came from. Where did it come from? Nowhere. It came from ignorance only. And when the ignorance is removed, the snake is gone. Ai, O seeker, aham patati. Now, two things. And this is called Nija Vichar. Okay? Now the knowledge about aham is to be gained through proper means of knowledge. You cannot gain the knowledge without the operation of adequate and proper means of knowledge. That means what? We have seen earlier, for knowing the self, Vedanto Nama Upanishad Prama. The study of Upanishad is the means of knowledge. When there is a question about oneself, knowing oneself, you're trying to know yourself, you're ignorant about yourself, none of the available means of knowledge can take you to the self. There are 6 means of knowledge: Pratyaksha, Anumana, Arthapattihi, Upapattihi, Anupalabdhihi, and Shabda. Pratyaksha means direct perception. Anumana means inference. Arthapatti. Here there is a slight difference. I mean, I'll finish in a nutshell. Pramana Vichara. When you see a smoke on the mountain, you can infer that there is a fire. Why? Because there is invariable concomitance between smoke and fire. There cannot be smoke without fire. There can be fire without smoke. This is a modern example. Like in your kitchen. There is a fire without smoke. But then generally there are other different type of fire. There is a fire, another one fire there in the kitchen. But then there cannot be smoke without fire. That being a case, you can say, this is a knowledge. Inference is a knowledge. You don't say maybe fire. You say there is fire. So also Arthapattihi, the inference is made about here in Anumana, I mean, is right there at the same time and same place. In Arthapattihi, you have Anumana about different time and different place. Like this fellow says, I have been fasting all these days. Since 1 month I have been fasting. And fellow keeps on putting up the weight. You can safely infer he must be doing roza, eating at night when people are asleep, and he would say, I am fasting. During daytime he may not eat, but then this fellow must be eating at night. That is Arthapattihi. Sometimes you get a knowledge about something with a drashtanta, example. This person is like that person. This place is like another place, whatever. And Anupalapti is also a means of knowledge. Absence of a thing is also known to you. But then, and lastly, the words, Shabda, is also a means of knowledge. But Atma, the self, cannot be known by Pratyaksha Pramana, by direct perception, because the self is the very subject. In case of rope and snake, that there is an object confusion regarding an object outside you. So the eyes can reveal with the torchlight, flashlight you put in, you switch on the flashlight and focus on that particular object, you can make out, yes, this is not a snake, but this is a rope. But in case of the self, none of the means of pratyaksha, either shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha, means eyes, ears, nose, skin, tongue, none of them can get you the knowledge of the self, because it is the very self who operates these means. It is right behind them. Exactly like you may have a torchlight and with the dry cells inside, and you with the light is so powerful, you want to know what is the brand of these cells. You can never know through the torch. You remove the cell, torchlight will not function. Self being the self of all these means of knowledge, the one who operates them cannot be known by these means. There are so many reasons also. Yattadadreshyam, sparsham, rupam, agandham, etc. Since it is devoid of any attributes, none of the sense organs can let you know. And all other five means of knowledge, anumana, upapattihi, arthapattihi, etc., they all depend on pratyaksha. Pratyaksha upajivinaha. And when direct means perception cannot reveal, all other means of knowledge which are in a way dependent upon pratyaksha cannot reveal the self. So, it is like that our good old 10th man, or it is like you seeing your dream. And in your dream, you take yourself as someone else than what you exactly are. In such a situation, apta vakya, as they call it, a vakya of a wise man. Like the 10th man story, some Swami or Guru should tell, Tvam Dashmosi. Similarly, here apta vakya means arsha vakya, means Upanishad alone is a means of knowledge. Please understand one more thing also. Vedanta is not a philosophy. For want of word, in English they use the word philosophy. Because in English language, in the religion itself, there is no word for darshan. This is a school of thought. Vedanta is one Shankar Vedanta school of thought. Then there's a Ramanuja school of thought, Vallabhacharya school of thought, Nimbarkacharya school of thought. This is not a school of thought. The philosophy is something which is always characterized by ifs and buts. It's one's own projection. May be true, may not be true also. Philosophy. Or yes, philosophy or school of thought. It's a thought. And the school of thought is a thought created by Ahankara. Vedanta is a means of knowledge. And the means of knowledge gives the knowledge of an object with true to the object. This Vakya, you might have heard this, Gnanam Vastu Tantram. Means what? Knowledge depends upon the nature of the object to be known, nature of the thing to be known. If you have a proper means of knowledge, whatever you want to know, you have to know and you will know it as it is. You can never know it otherwise. Look at this. In my hand, I am holding a small flower vase. Okay? Small flower vase. And there are flowers. There are jasmines. If I ask you what is the color of it, You have no choice but to see it and know it as white. Jasmine decides how you should know. You have no choice. Vastu Tantra. And I try to smell it. And somehow I have a mood, I'm in a mood to get a fragrance of a rose, which is different than this. Jasmine fragrance is different to that smell of a rose, fragrance of a rose. I want a rose fragrance. I smell it, but I have to have jasmine smell. That is what it is. I have no choice. Knowledge is Vastu Tantra. So, philosophy is a projection by an individual ahankara. And that ahankara cannot arrive at itself, its own nature, because it's a projection done by it. And the projection done by the fellow who himself is a false person, you know. Whereas this knowledge is a definitive statement. Shruti says Tattvamasi. It's a definite statement. The person says Aham, Shruti says Aham Brahma Asmi. It's a statement of fact, not conditioned by ifs and buts, or not maybe or may not be. You cannot say this flowers maybe or may not be jasmine. You may say may be real, may not be real, because some of you are from US, you know. They can create those artificial jasmines. May look like real one. Sometimes I have seen those flowers. They look so real that real one looks dicey. You know, you make mistake. This is real or that is. And you may doubt, Swamiji, you may not get a fragrance because that we are talking at a distance. But if it is within the reach of your sense organ, namely the nose, you cannot doubt it. It is a statement of fact, not a projection. It's a definite statement, and so definite that the person who knows I am so and so Brahma cannot be shaken. That is what we call a Sthita Prajna. He or she can never make mistake of taking himself or herself to be other than what he or she is, what the Swarupa is. Now knowledge, as I said, has to be obtained by proper means of knowledge. Yes. So you say, yes, Swamiji, now we know. We have to study Upanishad. We have to study Gita. And I will study by myself. I don't need a teacher. I will do it myself. That will never work. Why it will never work? Because the one who inquires into himself, that ego, himself or herself, is false entity. It is like a minister heading an inquiry commission regarding some scam where he was a main party to the scam. That fellow will never prove himself as a guilty. But he is the one who has done the crime, the scam. This fellow is the one who has siphoned some money. He will never say, I did it. So, in this inquiry, when done independently, the buddhi is under the control of ahankara. Buddhi is guided by ahankara. Buddhi, I would say, is loaded by ahankara. Loaded by what? His notions, prejudices, some ideas, fancy ideas. All they are there already in the buddhi. There is no objectivity left in the person. And that buddhi can never come to know itself because it is under the spell of ahankara. So two things you need. And this second thing is Shastra, therefore it requires certain attitude of surrender. You see, this surrender when we talk, Sharanagati, they say, but is bhakti. Bhakti, that Sharanagati is different, what they call it, and what we say surrender is different. Surrendering the buddhi. What do you mean by surrendering the buddhi? Does it mean that you become a non-thinking person? Does it mean that you don't question the teacher? Does it mean you just swallow whatever teacher says and talks? No. Surrender of what? My prejudices, my notions, my views, my ideas, all that is surrendering doesn't mean the surrendering the very thinking capacity. You are surrendering all those things which color or cloud your thinking capacity. That's all is surrendered. Notions are given up temporarily. And even if teacher says something which is in contradiction to my ideas and notions, but I accept it as of now, that is called Shraddha. Very beautifully, Pujya Swami used to define acceptance pending discovery. So you continue to discover. Your thinking capacity, analytical capacity is not to be surrendered. You just don't swallow what teacher says or what Shruti says. You try to understand it. But then understanding, trying to understanding is with this attitude or with a faith that this must be true. Or other side of it is, and this is the problem of Ahankara, I must be wrong. How can I see the truth behind Shruti Vakyas? How can I see the fallacy in my thinking? That attitude becomes necessary. That is called surrendering the buddhi. I had quoted this verse when I talked about it in the fourth chapter, in Tattva Bodha, when I discussed about Shraddha. Lord Krishna says in the fourth chapter to Arjuna, he says, hey Arjuna, I taught this knowledge, this wisdom, to son. And from the son, Vivaswan Manave Praha Manu, Vivaswan taught to his son Manu, when Manu, that I taught to son means S-U-N son, okay, not S-O-N son. I taught to S-U-N son, and then he taught to his S-O-N son Manu, and he taught to his son Ikshvaku, and like this knowledge is coming down in the tradition of teacher-taught tradition, Guru Shishya Parampara, for all these generations. The same thing today I am revealing to you. Sevayam maya tedya yoga prokta puratana. Same thing I have told you today. Because you are bhaktosime sakhachit. Now this statement of Sri Krishna is self-contradictory in the view of Arjuna. He knew Krishna as his contemporary, almost of the same age. He was his cousin, and more than a cousin, one of the best friend, the best friend. And not only best friend, but you can say a friend in need. He always guided and helped him all this. And he knew that he was born on Gokulashtami in August, in a modern language. In those days, there was no August, by the way. Jesus was not born, so January, February was not there. But still, to explain you this, he was born in August, around same time when I was born. How can you tell to son? In the beginning of the creation, he says, there is a very clear contradictory statement. But even if it is contradictory to me, he asks the question that how can I resolve this seeming contradiction? You must be right, and there must be some fallacy in my thinking. And there must be some limitations in my thinking. How can I see the truth behind your statement? That's what he asked. Katham etad vijaniyam tvamadav proktavan. How do I know? How do I see this fact that you only taught in the beginning of the creation to Surya Vivasva? That is an attitude. That is Shraddha. He wants to understand. You don't give up your thinking capacity or buddhi per se is not given up. At the same time, he doesn't dismiss him. Apparently, it is all, you can say, blasphemy. Talking too tall. I told to son, you were born recently. How could you tell to son? Come on, Krishna. You could have said in a typical English modern style, come on, don't kid me. You are kidding, Krishna. You would have said, you are kidding. What are you talking? I can't take it. I can't buy this. He would have said. But he says, no, I want to buy this. But I just don't want to gulp this statement because you said it. Please explain to me. Therefore, student, look at this. Student has a right to question the teacher. A fundamental right. Student is a right to question the Shastra. But then, the question or doubt is not there because of outright dismissal of the Shastra. Question is not there to falsify them. Question is to clarify my understanding. Question is to discover a fallacy in my thinking. He accepts the statements of the teacher and the Shastra pending discovery. And in order to that discover, which is pending discovery, the discovery is pending. In order to arrive at that discovery, I am questioning this. It is only to clear my understanding. That is why we are not questioning the validity per se of the teacher or the Shastra. I am questioning to clear my understanding. Now, that is one requirement. When you say, ahamayam kuto bhavati chinvata, when you inquire into who am I, then you have to add this, that you inquire about who am I through Shastra, through Guru. Guru becomes necessary. We discuss with this attitude. Inquiry calls for an attitude. An inquiry necessitates a teacher. First, it is a pramana, therefore you need Veda. Secondly, you need an attitude. Attitude is not to question the validity. Attitude is to clarify my understanding. And here I would add this. And honesty also. Intellectual honesty. Cognitive honesty. In the light of new knowledge, when I see my misconceptions, my notions, my prejudices, I disown them and adapt it. Accept the new knowledge. Imbibe the new knowledge and dismiss those notions and ideas. That is attitude called Shraddha. Now, you need a teacher also. Because this pramanam is in the form of words. Words are always available to be misunderstood. They are to be, you can say, misused and abused also. Because that is the ahankara. And there is a methodology of unfolding. The whole problem is, there is look at our example, rope and snake. The fellow takes it a snake, and actually it is rope. You have to first remove the snake out of his mind. Make him realize this is not a snake. Then you have to tell him this is rope. If you say this is not a snake, a rope, come on, I see a snake. Be careful. It looks like cobra. That's all word he knows. He doesn't know the varieties of snake. So he will say, look like a cobra. That's all he will say. Therefore, the teacher someone has to help him to dismiss what he is, he or she is not. Neti, negation. Naham, naham, naham. And then help him or her to own up what he or she is. As I said, it is in the form of the words. You need a teacher to unfold the words. Why? See, you need, when you look at the book, to understand a given verse, a given chapter, you have to know the context of all the chapters. Then only you can arrive at one meaning. If you know all other chapters, you don't need to study. So you don't know before and after. You need somebody to one who has a whole vision of the whole. And there is Ek Sutra, one message which is never contradicted here or there, all through the teachings of the Gita. And that one should have the vision of the whole. And if you yourself have the vision of the whole, you need not study. You know it already. And if you don't know, you have to study from a person who has a vision of it. That teacher should be the one who should know how to communicate. As I said, words create misconceptions. Words create more confusion if they are not unfolded contextually and properly. Exactly like this, our Satchidananda Atma. Ananda. Most of the English translation, I see bliss. Bliss is ambiguous word. It doesn't convey anything to the person. And therefore it becomes a mystical experience. This anubhava, anubhuti, not knowing grammar, understanding, they say you have to experience the self. Hey, there is no experience involved. So you need a teacher who can unfold the Shastra and make sure there is no ambiguity. Make sure there is no confusion. Make sure that all notions and ideas and prejudices are knocked off. That is why in Gita ji you will find generally the methodology principle, teaching principle is you don't teach unless it is asked for. But there are quite a few chapters where Arjuna did not ask the question. Bhagavan started. There is some repetition here and there, quite often in fact. Because teachers, it's a life, teaching is a very dynamic process. Looking at the eyes of the student, teacher understands that this is understood or not. And he clears this till it is clear. Therefore, Krishna asked Arjuna, Kashchidetat shrutam partha tvaya ekagrena chetasa Kashchid Jnana Sammoha Pranashtaste Dhananjaya. Are you free from that delusion which you had at the beginning when you said, Prachami Tvam Dharma Sammudache? Sammudache, I am already deluded person. And Krishna asked him, is your delusion over? That's why you need a competent teacher. So three things. To know the self, you need Vedanta, you need a competent teacher, and you need a proper attitude. This, our famous picture of Bhagavad Gita, is always compared to this, what we see today. Arjuna is an ahankara, a jivatma. Krishna is a teacher. There is a beautiful simile given in Kathopanishad. Atmanam rathinam viddhi shariram rathamevat. This body is equated to a chariot. Sense organs are the horses. Manaha is a rein. And a buddhi is a charioteer, driver. And the ahankara jivatma, individual, is the Ratha Swami, one who is sitting in the back seat. In that picture of Bhagavad Gita, you will see Lord Krishna sitting as a chariot. That means he is sitting as his buddhi. Arjuna has surrendered. That means Arjuna has surrendered. Then you will see picture like this, Arjuna sitting like this. And he declared also, Uchami tvam dharma sammuda cheta. Shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. I am surrendering to you. That surrender is of what? Surrender of his notions. Surrender of his views, ideas. But thinking capacity is not surrendered. That when you give up your notions, when you sort of not give up, but suspend them momentarily, and you identify with your teacher, then buddhi thinks objectively. Teacher, like a charioteer, leads the buddhi. You can use, I am using this word because that's all I know, in the realms of vision. And student sees the truth because buddhi is objective. It is the way the teacher sees, the student also sees. That's a surrender. Some of you who had heard Pujya Swami, you might have experienced this. It's awe feeling, you know. Nice word. I like that. Awe feeling. You attend the class and then sometimes you are so absorbed in the class. Then after the class there is awe feeling. Oh, this is it. Oh, that feeling is always. That means what? You could see what teacher was seeing. That means what? Momentarily you had suspended all your ideas and notions and what prejudices and views, everything got surrendered. And you were so identified. Like when you identify with a movie and start feeling what the actor feels. Similarly, what the teacher thinks, you start seeing what teacher sees. And there is always feeling. Very nice word. That you feel, oh, class got over. There is something. That is called surrender. And that is being picturized by Gita picture. Krishna sitting, the teacher sitting as a charioteer, that means taking charge of buddhi. He leads his buddhi to see certain things which teacher says. And you can physically lead somebody forcefully, but you cannot lead somebody cognitively unless that person is willing to. You cannot push him unless that person wants to. And that willingness to be led, willingness to be taken to new vision is surrender called Shraddha. Simply sitting and questioning who am I, doesn't happen. Patati ayam aham, this I notion falls. It doesn't fall, I tell you. New I notion develops. This fellow who doesn't know, sorry for using this word, becomes spiritual snob. They will say, now this wants to eat. This is what the body wants to eat. Doesn't say that I want to eat. This wants to eat. This is not well, etc., etc. This kind of statements are born out of not understanding the truth. Okay? So, by merely questioning who am I, that ahankara will not dissolve. It is like snake keeps on asking, who am I, who am I? It's not going to know itself as a rope. And therefore, though it is not mentioned here, if snake keeps on asking, who am I, snake is not going to disappear. To remove the status of being snake in I, you need to go to a teacher. And that ahankara, you can say, the dreamer disappears on waking into the wake. Understand? Because that was superimposed on the wake out of ignorance. Similarly, ahankara, when questioned when Shastra Vichara, Shastric inquiry, that disappears or resolves itself into consciousness or Chaitanyam, that is you. You discover that I am this. Like dreamer, having woken up, discovers that I am this, not that. That discovery itself is dissolution of ahankara. Now, again here, one more thing also can be added here. This teaching, great, you have to go to a teacher and a competent teacher and with an attitude. But to get a teacher is a grace. Okay? That's an abundance grace. Or I would say ultimate grace. To have a teacher who can unfold the Shastra. A teacher who knows the tradition of teaching. And a teacher who knows the truth. That is just a grace. Nothing else. And I said it is ultimate grace because nothing more. This is such a grace, having had it, and I would say having utilized it. The grace may be there. People don't utilize the grace. They have different priorities and don't study. And then they say, Swamiji, I want to come to you and want to study, but I have no time, blah, blah, blah. When you have utilized the grace, then there is a life of no more. All the time, fellow is wanting something more and more and more. This teaching leads to that vision. You say no more, over. Like when you eat, for somebody forces you to eat, out of love gives you so much, and then I like that American big no, that no, big no, that big no comes. Always one. Therefore, this is a grace which leads you to discover that I don't want any more grace. The grace, you seek grace for money and power and health and small issues, children by exams and good mark and admission and promotion and new car and everything. This is a grace where you say, no. And that ignorance, once destroyed, is destroyed for good. And that how this aham is born, and this, it dissolves into the consciousness. That's what teacher said, is further clarified in the next verse. We'll see it tomorrow. Namaste. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Namaha. Hari